What were your initial thoughts before getting to Costa Rica? Well, it's your second time coming, but...
Yeah, I was just really excited to have the opportunity to come back, and so I was thinking about all the things that I wish I would have done, or what I could have done differently.
What was your greatest challenge within the first 48 hours?
For me, the greatest challenge was getting to see the kids again, and then knowing that I had to leave them again, and how hard that was the first time. But thankfully most kids have Facebook, and I figured I could fit like 2 or 3 of them in my suitcase, so.
What was the biggest surprise so far in your time of serving?
For me, it was just amazing how fast and quickly that we fell in love with these kids, even though there's only so much you can actually say to them, but God totally uses whatever we have and makes an awesome connection with them. I never thought that you could fall so completely in love with these kids and these people here, and we aren't fluent in Spanish.
What has been the greatest joy so far for you on this missions field?
For me, it's been being able to make a deeper connection with the kids, not because they're already familiar with me, but before I came here, I prayed every morning that God would just help the language just to click, and He answered that prayer, and it's been amazing. It's been a huge blessing to actually understand a little bit more and be able to talk with them and be able to understand what they're saying.
What is one thing that you learned at Montana Missions Training School that has been most useful now that you are in the field and actually serving?
It's hard to pick just one thing. It's not like in high school when you graduate and you've retained like 10% of the information and you probably won't use it. But you're actually practically using the things that you have learned, the things that you talked about in class. And just one thing in particular, I remember studying how each people group, how they have different beliefs and values and a worldview. And even if a value or a belief changes, it doesn't mean that their worldview changes. I'm just talking with Brooke, who's one of the missionaries here. And she's just saying how when this person is saved, they're still caught up in the same tradition. And you see it in the kids too. As we're going through Genesis with the Pottersville kids, we're studying creation, and dinosaurs came up, and so they were talking about it a little bit, and they said, dinosaurs God created them, and they didn't live 6 million years ago. And the kids were laughing. They thought it was funny. They're like, no, that's impossible. And that's just been so ingrained in them. And so we've been trying to teach them that you have to go to the Bible. Everything, you need to have a biblical foundation for everything. And the Bible has the answers to these types of things.
What is one goal you have that you would like to accomplish before you leave Costa Rica?
My goal is to be able to present the gospel in Spanish. When I came the first time, we went street witnessing a couple of times, and I would usually just talk to tourists because they speak English, and just by chance I ended up talking to a guy who knew about as much English as I knew Spanish, and so we had a very short conversation in Spanglish, and thankfully he was a Christian already, and I realized that if he didn't know Christ, I couldn't present the gospel to him in Spanish. And being the good missionary student that I am, I didn't think about it. And until I came back, and then God was saying, "Do you remember Alejandro? You need to know this stuff. You are in a Spanish-speaking country. You need to know Spanish." And so that's my goal.
What would be a word of encouragement you would give to someone considering this opportunity?
I heard in a sermon once, he was saying, "I've never made a sacrifice in God's name that I've regretted, but I've regretted the countless times that I've held back." So I just say, don't hold back. We've been given a calling, and we need to be obedient in all things. And the great part is, in Matthew 28, in the Great Commission, Jesus says, "And I am with you always, to the end of the age." And emphasizes, in the original Greek, he emphasizes I, so he's saying, and I am with you. I just thought that was so great. God has given us His Holy Spirit, and we can have that boldness, and we can go out, and even if there's a language barrier or anything else, God can work through it all. That's it.